Now, one thing I said earlier, I was replying to somebody's post on Twitter, and I had said, I think that the situation with RJ Barrett is kind of similar to the situation with Julius Randle. He got that contract. He knew he had to live up to that contract, and I think it just kind of put him in an uncomfortable space going into the season where he became like this head case, and he just couldn't get it together. And I think that once he got the opportunity to get past that first year and really get settled in, we seen Julius Randle play even better than the COVID year, when we went to the playoffs against the Hawks. I kind of see that same trajectory happen with RJ Barrett. I think the fact that he was given that contract, he probably was feeling like he was in a position now where he has to live up to it, because he feels as though now I got this money, people are going to look to see whether or not I'm going to get better or not. Sometimes situations like that, when you put a bigger bullseye on somebody because of a situation like a contract extension or a big trade that involves multiple teams and star players and all that stuff, I think he kind of put a little bit too much pressure on himself to be that next level when he wasn't ready to go to that next level yet. I remember, going into the off season, one of his main goals was to be an all-star last season, even though he didn't accomplish that. But I feel as though now if he just come in and if he just focus on playing the game right, working on his weaknesses over this off season, I think we can see a pretty big leap coming from RJ Barrett this year. Once now that he got another year under his belt playing alongside Jalen Brunson, he's a little more, cognizant of what he needs to do, what worked for him in the playoffs that made him at that point our second best player while Randle was injured. I think we're going to see a tremendous leap coming from RJ this year. And I don't want to say, book it or whatever, but I really do think that he's going in the right direction, because I feel like he started to figure it out as the playoffs went on. What do you think?
Honestly, I feel the same way, man. And listen, man, there was times that I said, RJ needs to do better on certain things last year because he had a very up and down regular season. Mm-hmm. But like we said, we can't forget the fact that this guy did show up in a lot of big games. There's one game that stuck out to me when we played against the Boston Celtics on the road, and just not that game. There's a few other games where he hit a big shot, had a good defensive possession. And I look at it from more so I know that basketball doesn't always mean that, because a lot of people just look at stats. And if you listen to a lot of negative people that talk badly about the Knicks that are so-called Knicks fans, mm-hmm. You listen to them when they speak, oh, I missed the first half, oh, I watched the fourth quarter, oh, this is, they don't even watch the game, some of them. And that's how you know the difference. Me, I watched the game 2 or 3 times to see stuff that I probably missed initially when I watched it the first time. And you don't see the little things that all these, like what you said, RJ Barrett does, that, even though I felt like he took a little step back, defensively, but there were a lot of times that he hit the big shot, that he stepped up when he needed to, got the big rebound, got the defensive stop, and stopped the other team's best wing. Stuff like things that don't show up on a stat sheet. That kind of like what Josh Hart does and Donte Divincenzo. Because a lot of people don't even know that Donte Divincenzo is a kleptomaniac. Mm-hmm. He knows how to get in the passing lane. Oh, yeah. And these are things that you can build off of. You know what I'm saying? So RJ Barrett, you hit the nail right on the head. I think he's going to take a leap this year. I think that the game's going to come naturally to him. I feel like he fits what we need. He's a New York guy. He wants to be here, and I think that this is the perfect situation for him.
Oh yeah, and RJ's parents is from Brooklyn, so he definitely got the New York roots in him and all that good stuff. But one thing I was thinking about just now as you was giving your explanation on the whole RJ Barrett situation. I'm looking at it like this, and a lot of people out there may not agree with me when I get ready to say next. But when it comes down to it, I want this year for Jalen Brunson, we see he's our closer down the stretch. But when it comes time for those big shots, I want the ball in RJ's hands. You know what I'm saying? Because I think, and maybe arguably so, and maybe a lot of people may disagree with me, but I think at times he is probably our most clutch player on the team in terms of hitting big shots when we need them. Like you recall the situation against Boston. You recall a couple of times in the playoffs this past season, where he had big games and he came up clutch for us, and a whole lot of different times throughout the regular season this past season as well. Look at the game against Toronto when he gets the rebound, he pushes it 92 feet down the court and gets the dunk. You know what I'm saying? To take it into overtime, and it should have been an and one, and we should have won the game right there at the buzzer. You know what I'm saying? So I want the ball in his hands when it comes to those clutch situations, because I feel as though I feel as though we got a pretty clutch guy in the making, and we just give him that confidence to put the ball in his hands at the end of the game when we need that shot. What you think?
I definitely agree with that, man, because it throws Seymour too, because a lot of times he was prepared for us to go to in the clutch of JB or Julius Randle, and it'll definitely bring a different element of a mix to it, because that's the reason why RJ was found open in that corner in that Boston game. Mm-hmm. And in the playoffs too, man, like I said, you touched right out, you hit it around the head with the Toronto Raptors game, which should have been an and one, obviously. And there's a lot of times that RJ has stepped up and hit a big shot and did a multitude of things that don't show up on the stat sheet. But I will give him the ball in a tough spot, basically like a clutch situation, because he has shown that he had that clutch gene. And then in the playoffs, he bounced back, man, and he proved a lot of people wrong. And he still got people that are still willing to trade him for OG Anunoby. And I don't see it, man. I just think that this kid.
I don't see it. Like, I understand, people got a fascination with other teams' players, and I get that. That's cool. But I haven't seen anything other than the fact that OG Anunoby has long ass arms and is a pretty good defender on the wing. I haven't seen pretty much anything else that would make me be like, we need to go ahead and go after OG. I don't see it, because when it comes down to it, RJ, yes, he's limited when it comes to a lot of his offensive game, and he's limited in a lot of different areas, but it goes back to the intangibles that a lot of people don't realize that he has. He is a pretty clutch player when it comes down to it, and people that want to argue that point, just go look at some film. Go look at some tape from this past season, and look at some of the clutch moments in games. Look at the Chicago Bulls game where he put up 44 points. Only reason why we didn't win that game is because of free throws. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when it comes down to it, for people to keep wanting to say we need to trade him back to Toronto and go get OG Anunoby, how do you know OG is going to be a good fit? Yes, he's a good defensive player, and he probably will fit well with Tibbs. But when it boils down to it, he's also another injury-prone player. Why would we go and give up a guy that one of his best abilities has been his availability? Why we want to go give that up for a guy who's much older than he is, that's just as stiff movement as he is? You know what I'm saying? And the only thing is that you just got a little more prowess on the defense. RJ can fix that very simply. He can fix that with good footwork, and maybe he's dropping a few pounds to get lighter on his feet again. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different things that this kid can be molded into if he just puts the work in on his game. I'm not ready to give up on him. He just turned 23 years old. He showed us plenty of times throughout his career that he could be a big game player when he's really in the mood and he's really in the feel of the game. So why give up on that, man? We got a pretty good cornerstone in Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett. We just added Divincenzo. We got Josh Hart. We got a pretty good mix of solid players, and then Quentin Grimes in the wings, and also with Emmanuel Quickly. Just be patient with the team we have. We going places, man. Just be relaxed and be patient.